The cafe was nearly empty when Emily lowered her head and quietly wiped tears from her cheeks with the sleeve of her sweater. Outside, rain tapped softly against the windows of Maple Street Café, blurring the city lights into pale streaks of gold and gray. No one noticed her sitting alone in the corner booth, or at least, that's what she believed. At 29 years old, Emily had mastered the art of hiding pain. She smiled at coworkers even when her heart was heavy. She told her mother over the phone that everything was fine. She laughed when friends invited her out, pretending she was only tired when she declined. But tonight, after losing her second job in less than a year, after opening a final notice from the landlord that morning, and after realizing she had exactly $23 left in her bank account, the weight became too much to carry silently. She stared down at the untouched cup of coffee in front of her. "I really tried," she whispered to herself, her voice cracked. No one answered. Only the sound of steaming milk behind the counter and soft jazz playing overhead filled the cafe. Emily closed her eyes for a moment, remembering how different her life used to feel. 2 years earlier, she had been engaged, planning a wedding, dreaming about buying a small home someday. Then came the accident that took her father's life. The medical bill swallowed her savings. Her fiancé slowly drifted away, unable to handle the grief and pressure. Soon after, the company she worked for downsized, and her position disappeared overnight. Since then, life had felt like an endless hallway of locked doors. Still, she kept going. Every morning she woke up before sunrise, sent applications, worked temporary shifts, and cared for her mother whenever she could. She volunteered at the community food pantry on weekends because she knew what it felt like to struggle. Even when her own world was falling apart, she never stopped trying to help others. But tonight, she was exhausted. A waitress approached gently. "Would you like a refill, honey?" Emily forced a polite smile. "No, thank you." The waitress hesitated before sliding a warm blueberry muffin onto the table. "I didn't order this," Emily said softly. "You don't have to," the waitress replied with a wink. "Someone already paid for it." Emily looked around the cafe, confused. There were only a few people scattered across the room, a young couple near the window, an elderly man reading a newspaper, and a tall older gentleman sitting alone several booths away in a dark coat and baseball cap. He appeared ordinary enough, though something about his calm presence stood out. When Emily looked up, the man gave her a small nod before returning to his coffee. She smiled faintly, grateful for the kindness. What she didn't know was that the man had been listening. His name was Daniel Brooks. Though Emily didn't recognize him, millions of Americans would have instantly known the name. Daniel was the founder of one of the largest technology companies in the country, a billionaire whose interviews inspired entrepreneurs around the world. But after losing his wife to cancer 3 years earlier, Daniel had quietly stepped away from the spotlight. These days, he often traveled alone, searching for small places where nobody knew who he was. And tonight, something about Emily's quiet heartbreak reminded him painfully of his late wife. Daniel had overheard her whisper, "I really tried." Those 4 words stayed with him. Most people, he thought, only noticed confidence, success, and polished smiles. But he had learned long ago that some of the strongest souls are the ones silently fighting battles nobody sees. He watched as Emily carefully broke the muffin in half, wrapping one piece in a napkin to save for later. Not because she wanted to, because she needed to. Daniel felt something tighten in his chest. A few minutes later, Emily gathered her things and walked toward the register. "How much do I owe?" she asked. The cashier smiled warmly. "Your bill's already taken care of." Emily froze. "What?" "The gentleman in the back covered everything." Emily turned quickly, but the booth was empty. The man was already gone. She stepped outside into the cold rain, looking around the street, but there was no sign of him. Only black cars passing through puddles and the glow of traffic lights reflecting off wet pavement. For the first time in weeks, Emily felt something unfamiliar. Not relief, not happiness, hope. The next morning, Emily woke to another email rejection from a company she had desperately hoped would hire her. She sighed, closed the laptop, and prepared herself for another difficult day. Then her phone rang. "Hello?" she answered cautiously. "Hi, is this Emily Carter?" "Yes. This is Rebecca from Brooks Foundation Outreach. Mr. Daniel Brooks would like to meet with you this afternoon." Emily blinked in confusion. "I think you have the wrong person." "No, ma'am," the woman said kindly. "He met you last night at Maple Street Café." Emily nearly dropped the phone. 3 hours later, she nervously entered a towering office building downtown. She expected security guards, assistants, and formal conference rooms. Instead, Daniel greeted her personally with the same calm expression